So we are looking at a story called Goblin Spy, a Lake Scatterwood Tales short story for middle grade readers by J. Wilburn. If you like what you read, check out the Lake Scatterwood Tales books. There are 2 chapter book stories in each book. Crazy things are always happening at Lake Scatterwood. So, alright, Sportak made sure his human costume looked good. It was hard to look human when you were a goblin. Sportak was little enough to be a human child. That was good. He had green skin, pointy ears, and long arms. That wasn't so great. His costume squished down his ears and bunched up his arms. Let me put a comma there. So he looked like a real human. Well, sort of. He also had a Lake Scatterwood camp t-shirt and blue shorts. The shirt hid some of his bumpy skin. Let's say costume skin that showed through the... No, that's not what I want to say. Alright, let me fix what I started to fix. Bumpy skin that showed through the human costume. He scratched the fake hair on top of his mask and mumbled, "This will never, ever, ever work." But he had a mission. Let me put a comma there. So he walked through the middle of the camp between all the real human children and tried to act human. It wasn't as easy as you might think. Humans were weird. Human children were very odd indeed, Sportak thought. They ran a lot. They yelled even more. He didn't like how humans stood up so straight. Standing up straight would get you hit in the face by a flying bat. Let's say, no, standing up straight would get, alright, hold on, get your head bumped in a low tunnel, or would get you hit in the face by a flying bat. He guessed that humans didn't spend much time in caves. Sportak took out his notebook and his little pencil and he wrote, "Humans don't spend much time in caves." He walked toward one of the buildings. It was very big. Whatever this was, it would take a long time to build. Long time to build in the Goblin camp they wanted to make. He was about to write that in his Goblin Spy notebook when a big human asked, "Are you lost?" Sportak looked around, pointed to himself, and said, "No, I belong here because I am a human boy away at camp." The big human tilted his head and stared. Sportak thought maybe his costume wasn't working. Then the big human said, "Whatever you say, pal." Sportak nodded and wrote something in his notebook. "What's your name, pal?" Sportak thought for a moment and said, "That's right, my name is Pal." The big human nodded again. "Which cabin are you from? Lunch is almost over." Sportak thought and then said, "The purple one." "What?" Sportak spoke louder. "The purple one." "I don't know what that means. What number cabin are you from?" "Number, okay. My number cabin is 74. "We don't have 74 cabins, kid." Sportak looked behind him for a human named Kid. He didn't see anyone, so he just went inside. The big human called again, "Hey, kid." Sportak kept walking because the guy was still talking to whoever that other little boy was. All the human children sat at long tables eating. That was something Sportak looked forward to. He sat down at an empty seat and waited to be served. One of the other boys said, "Are you new here?" I am new here. My name is Pal." The others at the table introduced themselves as Sam, Cody, Jake, and the girl human was called Rebecca. "Are you hungry?" Sam asked. "I sure am. When does the food cart come around?" Cody answered, You have to go get your I need to say own. You have to go get your own food, pal." Okay. Pal got up and took a tray from another human boy. Rebecca took it out of Pal's hands and handed it back to the boy, who was staring with wide eyes. Rebecca said, "You can't take someone else's food. You need to get your own tray from the window." Sportak wrote in his notebook, "Don't take food from other campers. Get your own from the window." He started to walk to one of the glass windows, but Rebecca took him to an opening from the kitchen. She led him... Maybe that's not how it's supposed to be. She led him through picking out his food. He took lots of notes after he sat down. Jake asked, "What are you writing in that? Are you writing a book there, pal?" "No, just taking notes." "Notes for what?" Sam said. "Well, I'm not a goblin trying to figure out how to build our own camp underground, if that's what you're asking." Jake cleared his throat and said, "No, that wasn't what I was asking." Sportak took a bite of his meal. He paused long enough to write, "Camp food is delicious." He gobbled up the rest. "What activities do you have today?" Rebecca asked. Sportak said, "I don't know. What activities are there?" The human campers listed off things as fast as Sportak could write them down: horseback riding, swimming, archery, hiking, bird watching, basket weaving, kickball, and more. Sportak said, "I want to do all these things." Let me change that. All the things. All of them. Sam started to say, "Well, you can't do all of..." Jake said, "That sounds great. Let's do all of them today." Sam didn't seem sure, but Jake was so excited that Sportak got excited. Okay. Let me have him write something. He quickly scribbled, "Excited is contagious." I think that vocabulary may be a little high for the audience, but I'll look at it in a second pass. Excited is contagious. Let's say being excited. Try not to be too cute here. Being excited. Being excited is contagious. All right, they ran from place to place doing every activity. Sportak couldn't take his notebook into the water, but there was so much he wanted to write down. When he got out, he had to squeeze a ton of water out of his human costume. He looked like a giant water balloon. Okay, let me make that 2 words. A giant water balloon. For a moment. Later, they had a water balloon fight. After he dried off his notebook, he carefully wrote, "Water balloons are fun." Let me capitalize water, sorry. Water balloons are fun. They sometimes hurt, but mostly they are fun. Okay. It was hard to write while riding on horseback, while riding a horse too. Sportak made a basket. He made art with clay. He played kickball. Let's say Andy played kickball. They got to eat another meal called dinner time. Sportak was excited. He was so excited he forgot to write down all the details. As he got dark, no, let me write more than the thing. When he remembered, he wrote, "If food is delicious, you'll want to eat more than once a day. Switch meals from goblin slop to camp food. Pizza and hot dogs." No, hold on. Pizza, hot dogs, and fries are really good. After dinner, played some more, then the kids bought snacks at the camp store. It was all candy and soda. Sportak wrote as fast as he could. We have to get candy. No, we have to get camp store candy for our camp. Let me do all capitals here. We have to. Alright, so he's really excited about human camp. As it got dark, he got ready to go, but Rebecca said it's time for the campfire. Alright. And there was more eating. No wonder human children were so big. They never stopped eating. He made a note of it. They roasted marshmallows even though they'd eaten, let's say, way more than once today already. The goblin, disguised as a human, wrote in the spy notebook, "We have to get marshmallows for roasting. They may be the best part of camp." As the human children moved toward the cabins, Sportak hugged all four of his friends and said, "This was the best day ever. You have been a big help with my mission." Then he ran off in the dark to get back to the goblin caves to report all he had learned about camp. He looked over his shoulder one time and saw the children giving him strange looks. Sportak the goblin took a moment to make another note. Camp is the best thing ever, but maybe you shouldn't hug your friends goodbye because they give you a strange look when you run back to your goblin cave. He heard a human boy, maybe Sam. It sounded like Sam. Say, "My stomach hurts." Sportak shook his head. "I bet it does." He was going to make a note about so much eating and stomach aches, but then decided not to. If he reported stomach aches, they might not get any candy for their goblin camp store. Sportak was excited, and he knew excitement was contagious. He couldn't wait to report to the other goblins everything he had learned. All right, there we go.